guys, what's up? So I know it's been a minute since I put up any new videos, but today I have got something going on with the old 302 in here. It's a very common problem on anybody that puts any kind of different aftermarket intake on these things. I have a new oil leak. I thought it was the oil pressure sending unit. I've got one of those aftermarket ones in there, a mechanical gauge, and I thought it was leaking, so I replaced the line to it, made it a copper line instead of that plastic. Still leaking oil. So I kept looking, kept figuring it out, and lo and behold, intake gaskets. This will be the third time I've done intake gaskets on this thing. So I talked to a local mechanic here that knows his stuff and asked him what was a good thing to put on these intakes to where they won't leak the oil. This right here, Permatex The Right Stuff. It's basically a gasket in a tube. So we're gonna give that a shot today. I'm gonna show y'all how to take the intake off one of these, replace all that stuff, and hopefully never have another oil leak. So if y'all wanna know how to do that, stick around, we're gonna jump right into it. All right, so I have the Edelbrock Performer 289 intake on here, carburetor, got the Edelbrock air cleaner that's loose. I'm going to fix that today too. So a bad place on these 302s is right back there. They call it the valley, right down in there. They have little gaskets that come with the kit, and if you put those gaskets in, they just automatically start leaking. Some people just throw them away. That's actually what's in some of the instructions, is just to get rid of those and just put a bead of RTV on there. So that's what I did the last time, and now it's leaking again. So we're going to try to take that off. Can't see it from up top, but if I look through here, I can actually see a shiny spot on the bell housing where the oil is just running out. No shiny spot underneath the Jeep today, but I know that's where it's leaking from, so we're going to do that. I'm going to try my best to not take the distributor off today. I've done that a few times, and I always find a way to make it jump out of time. So I'm going to try to take all that loose without taking the distributor out. It is possible. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. But first things first, we got to drain the radiator. So this goes without saying, y'all. Make sure, whenever you get ready to start this little project, that your vehicle is nice and cool. Don't try to drain the radiator whenever it's hot, because that's not gonna be a good time. So, get my bucket situated right. Hopefully, it'll be the first time I've drained this new radiator. All right, got that open. Pop the top on this, because it will create a vacuum, and it won't drain. And looks like I've got it all going in the bucket for once. So we're gonna let that drain down for a minute. Okay, so while that's draining, I want to show you something pretty cool that I got the other day. Check her out. I've always wanted one of those things, and I was at the auto parts yesterday buying some gaskets, and I seen that. I had to bring her home. We don't have a name for her yet, but we'll come up with one shortly. So today is March the 20th, 2021, and I received my STEMI check. So, what are y'all doing with yours? Have you got it yet? If you got yours yet and you've already got it spent or figured out what you're going to buy, hey, drop that in the comments. Let me know. Obviously, y'all know what I'm spending mine on. I've got a lot of parts ordered, just waiting on them to show up. One thing I did buy that was not Jeep related, but I can't show it to y'all on YouTube because sometimes YouTube has a problem with the Second Amendment. So y'all know what I mean. But I have got a lot of stuff ordered for this Jeep. I've got some stuff for the summer, and we're gonna make some amazing videos this year. And another big surprise, I won't tell y'all yet. If you follow the Instagram, I've got that back up. If y'all follow that, you kind of have a sneak peek of what's coming, but you don't know 100%. So, enough of me jawing on. Let's wait for this thing to finish draining. Alright, since that is slower than molasses in December, I'm going to go ahead and start taking this carburetor loose. All the linkages and all that good stuff. Get that out of there. Oh. There's a piece of plastic on there. Interesting. There's that. And that comes off. And by the way, y'all, this little filter here, I love it. You can just take that foam out of there, wash it off, and you're good to go. And with me four-wheeling this thing all the time, that's pretty important. This will be a good time for me to check on the carburetor and make sure it's looking good. No leaks after I rebuilt it last summer. And it's looking really good. A little dirty, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Basically, to do this whole little project, just need your standard toolkit. I've got a bunch of random tools here, screwdrivers, pliers, cutters, that kind of thing. So this is a job you can definitely do in your driveway. It's a lot easier if you're in a shop. Maybe I should set up a GoFundMe so I can build a garage one day. My belt's getting a little worn. It's probably about time to replace it. Alright, let's get pulling the carburetor off of it. Alright, so we got the carburetor off, and it looks like I can definitely take the intake out without taking the distributor out. One thing I wanted to point out is if y'all have one of these aftermarket mechanical temperature gauges, be very, very careful with this line going to it, because you can't replace that line. You have to replace the entire gauge and everything. And for my setup, it's a pain in the butt. So be very careful, very gentle with it. Make sure you don't mess it up. Alright, so it looks like we got probably about a gallon drained out of it now. Cut that off. And now the fun begins. Now we're going to take this intake loose. I got one more water hose I got to take off, and then we should be good to go. It's looking like, since I've got that all glued down with RTV, I'm going to have to pull my distributor out, although I really didn't want to. So, important thing is to mark where this is facing with like a little arrow or a line or something. Take the cap off, lay it to the side. There's a rotor button inside. Mark where that's at on the distributor housing. And then I'll have to get down in there, loosen that bolt up, slide it out really gentle like to make sure I don't spin it around or nothing, and lay it to the side, and then I should be able to just take that intake and pick it up and tear all that RTV out of there. So let's get into that. Alright, so I got a mark right there, and then on the firewall there's a little smudge, and if I put myself directly in the middle of the bumper and look up, to raise y'all up. That line marks right up with that smudge. So now we gotta take the cap off. So, where you need to mark, this is the rotor button. It's actually looking a little worn. This still works. Here, that black mark right there. Now, if everything lines right back up like it should, everything should still be in time. Let's really hope so. This is major surgery. I hate doing this. Oh my gosh, do I hate doing this. But it's got to spin without turning that button. Distributor is out. A little dirty, but it's out. Lay this somewhere safe. Now, we can pull this intake. Little stick. Let me actually clean that up before I start jerking this out. All right. All that's out there, out of the way. On that side. Now for the moment of truth. Let's try to get this thing off here. Come on. Oh yeah, here you go. Now. Ow. Hit that solenoid on my elbow. All right. Now, let's get it out from underneath that so I can keep track of all the wires. You don't like doing that. What can you do? All right. So, there it is. Please don't leave so many mean comments about my distributor cap laying in there. Gotta clean all that out. Got a little bit of antifreeze in there, not much. All in all, it's pretty clean looking. So, we'll get to cleaning this up and put new gaskets. Audio. All right, so I'm gonna show y'all where these 302s tend to leak. In the valley I was talking about. See that right down there? There's a little gap in between the head and the block where the intake seals go, the gaskets. I'll zoom in on it. Right down in there. That's where they leak. Mine is completely open. I haven't looked at the bottom of the intake to see if it's on there, but that's where they leak all the time. So we're gonna put a fix to that. All right, so here's the bottom of the intake. And right there is where they tend to leak all the time. And you can see my RTV has just come apart. It ain't worth crap anymore. So, we're gonna clean all this stuff off really good. We're gonna put that other gasket making material on there. And that should fix it. So, got the heads clean, got the intake clean, gasket time. So, pull my handy dandy knife here. This is just your regular old Fel-Pro gaskets. Something you always want to do. A wise man showed me this one time. Is before you go and start putting stuff back together, take your new gasket and your old gasket, what you got, and make sure that they line up. There, absolutely perfect. So, new gaskets work. Let's see what else. There's some more in here. This little bag. So, these little quart gaskets, that's what goes in the end of the valleys there. These I don't use. I just throw them away. I got a new O-ring here for my distributor, which is nice. I'll go ahead and put that on there. So I'm going to put these gaskets on the heads. I'm going to use little dab of RTV just here and there to help stick them on there and keep them in place. Now on these gaskets, there's something you need to keep in mind. This side is blank. This side's got the blue stuff and some stamping of numbers. Right here it says head side. So make sure you put this side down on the cylinder head. That way everything will line up and be right as rain. So, gonna get some RTV, get these glued down, start putting it all back together. We've got 90-minute gasket maker. And right back here where I was having them leaks at, and up front here, I'm gonna use that. Now the instructions say that you lay it on pretty good bead. While it's still wet, immediately put everything back together. Finger tighten, kind of get it tightened down just a little bit to where it kind of oozes it out a little bit. Then leave it. Let it sit for an hour, then you go back and you torque to spec. So we're gonna get into that. That's one thing I love about working on these old Jeeps. You get an aftermarket bumper, you can just stand on everything to work on it. But this grill does get pretty rough on the kneecaps. All right, moment of truth. Back, front side. Okay. There's that. Let's grab the intake. So, we got the intake on, finger tight, just enough to push that RTV out a little bit. It said to let it set for an hour. I got 1:20, so come back about a little after 2 o'clock, about 2:20. Tighten everything, torque to spec. What's the torque specs on that? Not sure. Ella, you and them bubbles. So, we're just gonna give it an hour, let it set up, and then start putting everything else back together, carburetor, distributor, all that good stuff. So, I'll see y'all in an hour. All right, so we'll let that sit for a little while. I'm gonna throw the distributor cap back on there, tighten all this stuff down, and get her going. All right, so got all this put back on. There is a tightening sequence to these intakes. You can't just start on one side and then work your way around that way, because you want it all to be nice and flush. So what I did, I started right there. 1, 2, 3 to 4, 5, 6. I just worked my way across. That way it goes down nice and straight. There's not gonna be any vacuum leaks. So keep that in mind. Make sure that whenever you tighten those up, you don't just go in a circle. There's an actual pattern to it. Oh, all right, well, Carburetor is going back on. This is the final piece of the puzzle. I believe I still need to let this sit for just a little bit longer before I can crank it up and get that stuff wet with oil. I think it said, 90 minutes you can put it back in service. But I like to give it just a little extra. Whoop, I just kicked my tripod. I like to give it just a little extra time. That way I know it's not going to be coming apart or do anything weird. But what have we learned today? That intake gaskets on a 302 are not that hard to do. If you have a little bit of common knowledge on mechanical stuff, you can do it. Not too difficult. Distributor, it is possible to take it out, but I've got a much bigger distributor than most people do, so that wasn't going to work for me. This is an HEI distributor, so it's like a Chevrolet one. It's quite a bit bigger. That hood's going around, but totally easy to do. Anyone can do it. Just gotta be careful and make sure you don't tear nothing up. And remember to remove that distributor. It makes life a lot easier. I forgot to put that plate on there. So I just got to tidy up a few more things. I'm not going to record that. Just got to put this plate back here on the distributor, or the carburetor. Put my temperature switch back in. Hook my spring back up. And then, by then, I should be able to let it run. I got to fill it back up with antifreeze. And it should be good to go. So on that note, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and end it. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, that kind of stuff, just throw it in the comments. Let me know. And if you like content like this, think about subscribing to me. I do stuff like this quite often, unfortunately. But got some really cool things coming. I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to let you in on it yet. I'm going to keep it a little bit of a secret. But let's see, you will know what I'm talking about in 2 weeks. 2 weeks time. This thing is getting ready to get a major makeover. So anyway, if y'all like that kind of stuff, let me know. Think about subscribing, comment, share this stuff. I hope I help some of y'all out if you're wondering how to do these. Just common hand tools and you can get her done. So until next time, y'all, we'll see you later.